Good morning, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. If the sound is a bit different or you can hear the keyboard or the mouse clicking too much, it's because my Mac iMac, it's been some years that I've been having this Mac and it finally decided to leave us behind. So the Mac is not with us anymore. So this morning when I turned it on or came to it, the screen is just completely black. I can hear there's power, so some of the USB ports lighting up from the stuff that I have in there, but no screen, nothing. So if any of you know anything about Macs and potential problem, let me know. So now I'm working on a different laptop and had to quickly get some things going so that it can work. So let's see if this works and if we can get a Tuesday Outlook and setups out to you guys and to the community as well. So we're starting here on GU. We started yesterday and we spoke about this high and this high to be reached as liquidity areas in this week. We already tapped into the first one and we saw the rejection push towards the downside, and then again another push towards the upside. So, plain and simple, my primary idea today is for price to at least take out that high and potentially go for the one above as well. So, that is primarily where I'm heading to, what I'm thinking potentially happening on GU. If we just look at the 15-minute, you can just delete this. So we have the Asian range over here. It's not as beautiful as I would have liked it to be. We can see a pip range of more or less 20 pips, which is not bad. Liking to see it in that range. It's not bad. But then we can now identify, okay, so that's a previous high, that's uh, Asian high, but it's also a structure break for price pushing up. But we can also now just place this tool on there and see. I would potentially like to buy below the 50%, and that would then potentially be inside this wick. It might be a 5 minute or a block. So in general, I think the idea would for me is to go long, but just depending on where we get a buy signal, that would be now the main thing about today. So we have this low taken out, which can be acted as our sweep or false breakout. Then we broke back in, even though it's not as impulsive. We did break back in. You can look at it like this. If you see, there was our last area of supply, but it failed to push down. So we had a failure in supply or order block or whatever you want to call it. It was a failure in that zone. Price did not push down. We had a small reaction and then a continuation towards the upside. So now we're creating new areas of, let's call it, demand. I know you might disagree with me, some of you, but for just for the sake of ease, it's demand. And so we're creating new levels of demand as we're heading towards the upside. Looking at the 5 minute now, this is the area that I was speaking about on the 1 minute, on the 50 minute. But I'm just going to use this region, these down candles as a zone. We'll just give it some color for price to potentially move down into this area and then a reaction towards the upside. Let me just take that away. You can already see we have some trend line liquidity over here, and that is it. So we have this area as well, which is probably valid. It's a nice full body candle, a nice impulse. I like that area as well. The only thing is that this leg on the higher time frame is the one leg towards the upside. So I would ideally want to see price go below the 50% and then look for a buy to go up higher. If I'm not seeing that, then probably it's not going to happen. But I probably wouldn't enter, but that's just kind of forming part of my plan. Though, if we see price now really coming into this area, moving sideways and creating a lot of liquidity, then perhaps we could see price just dipping into this area and then moving towards the upside again. This is my current view on GU. So we're gonna quickly have a look at the next one. Okay, so here we're on EU. Ignore these numbers; they are just part of COT report, or what do you call it? The amount of positions or future contracts on the euro that has been opened or closed. Um, but they're not necessarily. I just testing something out. If I have more information on it, I will share it, but currently just testing things out. So on EU, as you've all seen, I took this long in here yesterday morning. So it was a relatively good trade, I would say. Quite happy with it. And then I think I managed it well. Could have gone much worse. So I'm going to show you now. But personally, I think as long as we stay above this level, this previous week's low, if we stay above this level, and as we see, we're having the reaction towards the upside, I do think that we will go higher, potentially reaching for these areas of liquidity and zones up up there. So those are the upside targets for me. But I do think we could see some manipulation first. We've been trending nicely towards the downside, so there's no real intent to go higher yet. We're still rather bearish, so we'll need to see some confirmation. There's something nice happening in here, which we'll have a look at. This candle is not too bad because we had a structure break over there. So we'll just get that. Guys, I know this mouse is super loud, so sorry about that. So we have this structure break in this area. Some imbalance left by that wick there as well. So the scenario is that we can see price potentially going down and then go back up higher. That is something that I would be looking for potentially. So from here on now, we can drop to the 15 minutes. And while we're on the 15 minutes, I will also just quickly discuss this trade. So we had this 15-minute order block, very nice full body candle. Even though it has been mitigated already somewhat, there was still some imbalance left there. And you can actually also look at this candle as your basing candle. And you can see that there's imbalance left in that little spot over there. So that's an area where price could be reaching for. And then you can see we swept that area, but did tip our toe into the basing this black candle over there. So anyway, this was our zone, my region or area that I was looking for price to go into. You can also see again we had a small low. We took out that low, we pushed towards the upside. So this was a valid area for me. If you remember the pattern, that's what was happening in this area that I was quite eager to see reaction of. So we had a reaction, we had some other confluences that's been shared in the community for why price reacted off of this area. And then price went towards the upside. So initially, I should have taken profit at this 5 minute order block. I didn't. So in it, I kept the trade open. I was break even, and we saw price coming down. Saw the reaction of this zone. Price pushing back up again, down, up again. So it started creating higher highs, higher lows. You can see higher lows being created, but failing to move up higher. And then eventually we started creating lower lows, lower highs, lower highs. So this is telling me that price is failing to go higher, we're failing to make higher highs, failing to create higher, but we are creating trend line liquidity. What's happening? What happens with trend line liquidity? It gets swept, taken out before continuing higher. So I saw that trend line liquidity, saw price failing to create higher, and then I closed it at around, yeah, actually exactly here. I closed it with that last push up. I closed it around 8 o'clock. Yes, at 7:075. So that was a nice trade, but it could have spared myself a lot of emotional trouble and just closed it in the morning, in the late early afternoon. So that would have been the best move, but we live and learn. Okay, so coming back to where we are currently, we still respected this area and we saw a push up and eventually a structure break. So we'll just have a quick look at the Asian session. I can already see that the Asian session was relatively consolidated, side moving sideways. So we have our lows, and this is actually our high where the structure break happens. So it's very similar to what's happening on GU. So moving sideways, structure break towards the outside. So then I'm going to take just the range from where we created the low and the high. And obviously I would want to see price reach down into the discounted area. That candle could be our discount area. I prefer the 5 minutes. We do a lot of 1 minute trading in the community as well, but for me personally, I enjoy the 5 minutes the most. That this candle is a very nice candle. I really do like this candle. Strong, full body candle and a big push towards the upside. It probably aligns also with 50% of these down candles, perfectly aligning with 50% of it. So this is a very good candle for me to base trades off. Potentially, if we can see a nice dip into this area and then a continuation up higher. Nothing too clear in this area, a bit of consolidation, accumulation in this area, but we could see reaction over here as well. Part of the plan is that we now need to see price creating liquidity, some equal lows to be swept into an area or this area, and then see price going up higher. Currently nothing on the table. This is now all set for buys. If we were to see price shifting, and then we could potentially see price breaking lows, creating new supply, respecting it, and we can follow the order flow, and then we can see that price is bearish, and then we can look for potential sells. But currently, I feel it's still bullish, and I would be primarily looking for buys, but may it be also conservative buys, not just jumping into wicks. You might think that this was a aggressive buy, but if you fully understand my thought process and the stuff that we teach in the community, then it's not as aggressive. It's just it's more an aggressive style of trading, but I don't think it was an aggressive entry, if that makes sense. So on EU, I'm also a bit more bullish than bearish, and those are the key levels that I'm looking at to see if price will react off of them for price to go higher. Then we have one more hour left till London Open, so more than enough time for you guys to watch this. This is now Aussie dollar. Quick look on Aussie dollar. This was my target from Monday morning. I told the team that we're looking for 73160 to be reached. I looked for longs in this area, but got stopped out, so it was a loss in this area. I didn't look again, and then we see price pushing up again. We bounced, broke structure, came back, retested the order block, tapped it, and then started pushing up again. But first of all, just right off the bat, the first thing I'm seeing is this area over here that could act as a order block for price to come back into and then continue up higher. But if we have a lot of momentum and strength, we might just continue up higher and take out this high. So those are the main areas that I've been looking at. So we can just place this over there, and potentially we'll look at the lower half of this area. So we can see this series of down moving candles, and we can probably expect price to, if we go down, tap into around 50% of this area. It's still a big area, so I'm not liking it too much. This is the extreme, the last area of defense, not fence, defense. So that is an area that I would be interested in. We have a very clean structure break over there, and then we're also now starting to create some trend line liquidity in this area, and we obviously then also have some imbalance in here as well. So it is looking good, but you see price has still some way to move down into this area if we were to see price going that low. It's also possible that price will just go up and then shoot down. So potentially there could be some shorts on the table. I'm not seeing a very nice basing candle or an area that I would want to look at on the 15 minutes, maybe the 5 minute. Because the 5 minute we have a strong candle there, even though it has been tested already, we can just place a line over there like this. So there is an area potentially for price to react off of this pocket and then move down first and then go up, but that is yet to be seen. We have some news today, later today, New York session as well, and I'll be paying attention to what the news is doing and how that will affect the trade. So this is a nice area for me to buy from, so we'll see if price does return to this area and give us an entry to go higher. Okay guys, that's it from me. Hope you all have a wonderful week. Stay safe and happy trading.